to Stitch Roadies. It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood and is going to be beautiful through the rest of this week till the weekend, and then we'll get some rain. But yesterday, oh, by the way, there will be no haul today. Surprising, isn't it? And it will not be till the next video that I will do a whip parade, as they call it, because now that Mania is over, June is all about embracing everything that has been started or had been started. And I think I myself need to reacquaint myself with my whips, because they have been kind of on the back burner for the most part. And you know, I have a couple that really have some timeline to them. But this weekend was a challenging weekend emotionally for everyone. And so yesterday G took me out to the woods. Yeah, he knows that taking time and embracing Mother Nature can sometimes lift the spirits a little bit. And there was just a really sweet spot where the wildflowers were just all over the place, and so there was this, because we live in the middle of this green. It's green, and so it was fun to see all of those wildflowers growing. I mean, Indian paintbrush and sage and just all manner of them. And it brought some peace to my heart. Because what's going on right now is absolutely a tragedy. And I spend a lot of my times vacillating in and out of great sadness and great hope. And also, it is very hard for me as a mama who has children in the city to not be fearful, to not wish for the best possible world for my grandchildren. And so what do I do to take care of myself? I am more proactive. I am stitching. I speak my truth when I'm asked. And all of you, visiting with all of you. It's all the little things that help us kind of dig ourselves out of this hole that we're in. And I'm a positive, a cup half full kind of person generally, and so this tends to make me like, oh, I've got to fill my cup up. I've got to fill my cup up with embracing all of it and working towards a better world. That's what I have to do. And I have to say that stitching, I don't know what I would do without stitching. Now, I know sometimes you can get to a very dark place where nothing seems to bring you out. And I think you have to let that ride. You know, to fight it sometimes is just almost harder than if you just kind of let it ride. But know that I'm here for you. I am here for you, and I know a lot of you are here for me. And I so appreciate it. So to get on with the stitching, My last Mania project was the Gnomes. You know, it was by Jardin Prive, who is Secret Garden. I love all their patterns. In fact, if you watched my visit with Becca on Sambry Stitches, I showed my very favorite cross stitch, and I think it was my very favorite because it was about a country that I love, France. It was the conversion of the floss was given to me at that time by a gal I know in Japan. And then because I was kind of out on the periphery of cross stitch and didn't really know any better, I know the count was really tiny, but it wasn't like I looked at it and went, oh my God, this is so small, because I had no idea how many different counts there were. So when it said use this count, I used that count, you know. And so I got it done because I didn't know that I wasn't, that I couldn't get it done. So, yeah, and that was by the same group of designers, and I love I love their designs, you know, and I have a handful of them that I want to get done. But this one, I don't know, for me, it just hit all of the needs that I had. I needed to be helped. I needed help. And in a pandemic, when you can't just drive over to your girlfriend's house and plop down inside it without preparation, you have to figure out different ways to give yourself that help, because you have to give yourself that help. And this pattern kind of hit all of the help buttons, if I could use that term. It's bright in color, pure in color in terms of it's all DMC, so it was reasonable. It's a reasonably priced stitch. The colors are pure. The gnomes, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. The gnomes are just sweet as could be. And it had specific motifs, so you did not feel overwhelmed, because you could take it motif by motif, and when you got a motif done, it was like this. Wait, I can't tell you, this was the perfect project for this weekend. And it's smaller than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be a lot bigger, but no, it's absolutely sweet and the perfect size. And it fit that need of mine that I have in my quilting life, that sometimes when I'm stitching, sewing something in my quilting life, I want to, especially with wool stitching, I want to put a bit of myself in the design. I so appreciate the designer's creation, but I just want to put a bit of myself or my family in it. And so this was the first project that I had done that I could do that with, because if you remember, this particular, isn't this bag just, this bag is just, it was a gift, and it's just, I love this bag. But if you remember, in the bottom corner, right here, is a baby gnome in a carriage sleeping. And I have a new grandbaby on the horizon. And I thought, I could turn this into a birth sampler. There's no reason I couldn't do that. And so I embraced the project. It was the last Mania project for me. And I went hog wild. And so today is the last day I'm going to stitch on it for a while, because now we're into June. And I was shocked how fast it went. But here you go. Is that not just the sweetest? So right where you see this right here, right over here, this little mushroom house that's appearing, that's the end of the chart. Yeah, that's the end. So I've got a piece left over on this fabric, and there's 4 rows. So this is such a doable project, and just a giggle and a half. Just a giggle and a half. And it's just, yeah, what can I say? I'm bragging on it. I'm bragging on how it's a fast stitch. It's a fast stitch. So today, while we sit together here, I'm gonna just be stitching on it. And then I'm putting it away for while I reintroduce myself to my whips. June is going to be my whip month, because July is what they call that Jolly July, and which is about Christmas projects. So and there's 5 Fridays in July. Yeah, because we checked last time, remember? And so I'm going to, well, I count my trees as a Christmas or winter project. It's all about that. And so that's going to be one of my whips will meet that criteria in my brain. And then I'll get to start some new stuff again. So I need to get some whips done. Yeah, I need to get some whips done. Yeah, June is my younger son's birthday and my youngest grandchild's birthday, and it's all on the same weekend. And so I'm praying that I'll be able to make the trip over the mountain and socially distance and have a little family birthday thing. We're gonna camp, we're gonna urban camp. So we'll see how many we have here. 1, 2, I need to just do 4, so 1 more after this one. Mumbling, mumbling, mumbling. So what are you doing to take care of yourself? Because you have to put the mask on yourself first. Remember what they said in the plane. You, before you help somebody else. So, you have to do things to take care of yourself. So what are you doing? I went out for a walk this morning. Since the weather was so nice, I went for a walk and listened to a book. I was listening to a book. I have the library's downloads on my phone. And I really like that, because then once you download the book, even if you're, like if you were flying, not that anybody's doing that now, but if you were flying and you had to turn off your Wi-Fi, the book is downloaded, and so you still have options to listen to it. And one of the commenters had suggested this book, The Queen Bee, so I am currently reading that. It might have been, actually it might have been Danielle, I'm not sure, but I'm enjoying it so far. I always give a book a good 2 or 3 chapters before I ditch it. Yeah, I'm willing to give them at least 3 chapters. So last night while I was stitching, we decided to watch, you know, I'm kind of hooked on HGTV, and it was List It or Lose It. Lose It? No. Love It. Love It or List It. Love It or List It. And so I was watching that, and then G came in, and he was ready for some TV watching, and we watched a couple of the RV YouTubers, because we follow a few of them because we like to travel, and yeah, I can't wait to do that again. But it's been interesting to watch them because you can see the challenges they're having with trying to stay on the road, and when you have problems on the road like flat tires or all that, this whole pandemic thing makes that much more challenging, and so it's been interesting and a learning experience to watch, you know, watch them as they try to live their lives in the way that they normally do. Yeah, it's been hard. I know that that both G and I are much more sensitive. We have to be very careful in that, you know, like when your whole life is interrupted, and the pattern of your life is interrupted, you're much more sensitive. So you have to have a little bit of grace, I guess, with that. And we can't wait till we can get on the road, and I think that will be later this month. We'll be able to at least distance camp, because we surely like it outside. You know, one of the things I do is that I sometimes, you know, orts, which are, I'm not even sure what that stands for, but I know what it is. I know what it is. But I found this great little milk bottle in my cabinet, Strauss Family Creamery from Marshall, California. And I turned it into my ort container because my little Wizard of Oz ort container I left in Arizona, but you see all the threads, that's just from the last month. But sometimes what I like to do with these orts is to throw them around my garden, because there's nothing more fun than when you see a mama bird pick up one of the colorful threads and take it to her nest building. I mean, the birds' nests around here are not boring. They've been upscaled with orts. So that's kind of fun. I was watching one little chickadee gathering up bits of straw and string and stuff and to fly off and build her nest. So sweet. So very sweet. I'm looking forward to my next Zoom Stitchy meetup. That will be, oh, someone's actually up in their airplane. We have a small airport here, not for any kind of commercial flights, but private planes. And so I started seeing the last couple days planes come in and out. It's just a little airport on the other side of town. Almost got the door of this little mushroom house done. Let's see. Maybe I could do the window. So last night, I was telling you last night when I was stitching. Oh, that's what I got. I interrupted myself. I interrupted myself. So last night when I was stitching, we had been watching the HGTV shows, and then G came in and he said, "Is there a DVD in the pile that we could watch maybe?" And he's not as keen on the HGTV shows as I am, but he likes it better than the news, let me tell you. And so I dug through the pile and I found this movie that I know we must have seen a long time ago, and but I was going, what is this about? I mean, it was called Cowboys and Aliens. Have you ever seen it? Oh my gosh. You gotta love the imagination of writers. I mean, so it had, okay, I know it had Harrison Ford in it. Oh. And it had the 007 guy. I really like him. But look at me. I can't remember his name. I hate that I can't remember his name. I'm gonna look it up because it's gonna drive me insane. Maybe I'll remember before I actually find it. But it was a hoot and a half in its absurdity, not in its comedy. It was not a comedy at all. It was actually about cowboy aliens who came to Earth during the time of the Old West, and it was like, oh my gosh. Oh, Daniel Craig. Jeez. See, that's what the pandemic is doing. That's what it's doing to me. It's like, Daniel Craig and Harrison Ford, it was, and there are a whole bunch of other big actors, Keith Carradine, Adam Beach. I mean, it was packed with great actors. So, but it was by far the most entertaining and strange movie. I mean, it was perfect for last night because we were both feeling somewhat down, and not that this was a happy movie, but it ended well. I can tell you that. It had a good ending. So, that's what we need, is a good ending. I just love this, the fact that this, I can't show you the actual chart, but that the chart has the symbols on it. The actual chart. I don't have to look at a separate page. So this is just really great. Yeah, so I need dark brown. So this is what I do. You see, my thread, everybody has their own organization, and you really have to figure out what works for you. And what works for me are these rings with the floss away bags, and then each, I live in an incredibly dusty area. I mean, it's so dusty normally, but right now, because we're in the middle of a forest, it is, I mean, it's beautiful today, but I'm telling you, 2 days ago, when I just had to get out. I had to get out by myself. I had to drive. I just had to get out. And so I jumped in the pickup truck. I brought along a quilt that I needed to bind the binding on. I brought water and snacks, and I hit the road for the mountains. And the gate was, because a lot of times there's gates that close roads off to get to the top because there's no one plowing up there and there's snow and stuff. But I figured they probably opened this one gate, and they had. And so I drove all the way up to the creek up there, and you know, I did a little bit of binding, tacking the binding down. I mean, sometimes you have to do stuff like this to keep your sanity. And it just felt, the air felt kind of funny. You know, I don't know how to explain it, but it felt kind of funny. And so I decided to pack it up and head back to town. And so I'm coming down the mountain, and I can then see across the lowland to the other mountain ranges across. And I said, is that fog? Is that fog? Because you could barely see the trees. You could barely see the mountains. And I realized it was pollen. No, I'm not kidding you. Pollen. And when the wind was so whipped up that the pollen had risen upward. You know, right now our streets and the ground are yellow from the pine pollen, but everything lifted up, and so it looked like fog, but it was actually pollen. And so I said, I can't even get out and take a hike because I just need to get home. So I drove home, and then a while later, G got home, and we had the most spectacular thunder, lightning, and windstorm ever. I mean, across the lowland here, when you get past Redmond to Culver, which is by the crow flies, is probably about maybe 40 miles. Maybe not even. They had 85-mile-an-hour winds. Holy moly. I mean, we moved our vehicles in because I suddenly got one of those warning things on. Beep, 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 beep. National weather warning, you know. And it said that there would be damaging hail to go to the interior of your house and stuff. Well, we just got a little bit of hail. But just over the next town over, east and north a bit, 2-inch hail. You know, 2-inch hails like that size. That size. I mean, holy moly. Yeah, I was so glad I had come down off the mountain after that. So, yeah, so, and today, it's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But we did, you know, we did have our fire starts. There were several spot fires that started that the Forest Service had to go out and take care of, because that's our natural disaster, is forest fire, and they took care of all that. So yeah, it's but see, I'm sorry, I'm kind of like all over the board. So I don't know how I got distracted by that. But this is how I do my floss. Oh, it was because of the dust. I don't like, I could dust every day, literally. So I keep my floss in these floss away bags so that they stay basically dust free. And I do them by numbers. So the DMC is all hung by numbers, like the 800s are on one ring, the 900s are on one ring, like that. And then the specialty flosses are on their own rings. So like one ring for Weeks Dye Works, I might have to do 2 as I collect more. But basically this works for me, so works for me. And then when I do a project, I pull all the floss I need off and put it on a project ring. And then I hang it on the back of my light here. And then I have my caddy cross stitches little pad, and when I'm using a certain color, I pull it off like this one. I need the dark brown, I pull it off, I pull what I need, and then I set it on that caddy cross stitch snippety while I'm working. So do you see how absolutely amazing that process is? Yeah. Oh well, you know. Oh shoot. If you guys are still here, bless you, bless you. Oh, let's see here. I gotta go 3 out from the same level as the doorknob. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna put my little window in. How could I forget Daniel Craig's name? I mean, he's a hunka. I am in the midst of binding quilts. Binding. Yeah, and so the only way, some people love binding quilts, you know. It's not my favorite thing. So the only way I have been able to get the bindings done is by saying that I have to every day bind one whole length of thread. And that has seemed to be working for me. You know, we always have to play games with ourselves. Okay, well, I think I probably bored you enough, huh? And next time we meet, I will be reintroducing you to my whips. Yeah, because I'm sure that when you see my whips, you will just be amazed. So amazed. And I will continue stitching on this little toadstool house until it's done today, and then this one will get tucked away for a bit while I work on the older whips, because I have a great need. I don't know how anybody who starts, 31 starts. Even, I don't even know how that's done emotionally. I did really like the way I set up my Mania, and I could see myself doing it again. I didn't feel overwhelmed. It was just enough, it was like just enough sugar in that frosting to taste good. So I probably will do it again just that way. And I probably will do Jolly July just that way because, you know, after all, I did get 2 things done during Mania, so that's awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really needed to be with you today, and I look forward to better times and more stitching. You take care, be safe, and stay healthy.